Okay, so this happened on April 14th, and almost nobody is covering it right. The XRP Ledger, a chain designed with no smart contracts, no privacy layer, nothing fancy, just quietly got the first native zero knowledge proof verifier in its entire history. The project behind it? Boundless, spun out of RISC Zero, backed by blockchain capital and Bain. And what they built is the closest anyone has come to giving banks real privacy on a public blockchain. No token pump, no announcement circus, a testnet, a blog post, and a side stage event in Paris. Let's break it down. This is Boundless XRPL 101. So first, who are these people? Boundless is the decentralized network. The engine inside it is the RISC Zero zero-knowledge virtual machine. And RISC Zero has a weird backstory. Three co-founders, Brian Retford, Jeremy Brussel, Frank Laub, worked together 20 years. Before crypto, Brussel and Retford built a deep learning startup called Vertex.AI, sold it to Intel in 2018. These are not crypto tourists. They are AI engineers who looked at zero-knowledge proofs and said, this is the next hard computer science problem. July 2023, $40 million Series A led by Blockchain Capital, Galaxy, Delphi, Bain Capital Crypto. Then, in May 2025, Jeremy Brussel handed the CEO seat to Shiv Shankar and said, we are spinning this out as a decentralized network. The network had a name, Boundless. RISC Zero keeps building the zkVM. Boundless is the decentralized protocol that sells proving as a service to any chain in the world. September 2025, full mainnet and the ZKC token launches. Wormhole starts using it for cross-chain messaging. Bob uses it for a Bitcoin hybrid rollup. Today, over 2,700 provers. Daily capacity over 400 trillion zkVM cycles. Real production network, not a white paper. Then, 8 months later, they show up in Paris with XRPL, which nobody saw coming. Okay, so zero knowledge proof. The term is scary. The idea is not. A ZK proof is a math receipt that says, I ran this program with this data and I got this answer. And you can verify the receipt in milliseconds, even if the computation took 10 minutes on a GPU. Prove once, verify forever. Trust no one in the middle. Here's what Boundless figured out. Every chain that wants ZK has been building its own proving stack. Polygon, ZK Sync, Scroll. Each one is hundreds of engineers and tens of millions of dollars to run the same math for a different chain. That is like every website writing its own cloud provider. So Boundless built one universal proving network any chain can rent. Uber for ZK proofs. A developer writes a normal Rust program, not Solidity, just Rust. Because Boundless runs on a virtual machine based on RISC-V, the same architecture inside phones and laptops. Any code that compiles for a chip can run inside the zkVM. The developer posts a proof request. A prover stakes ZKC as collateral, runs the program on GPUs, produces the proof, and submits it to a verifier contract on whatever chain the requester wants. Ethereum, Base, Stellar, and now XRPL. Same network, different destination. That is universal ZK. And the incentive mechanism is called Proof of Verifiable Work, POVW. Provers earn rewards in proportion to actual zkVM cycles delivered to real customers. 75% of ZKC emissions flow to provers based on real proofs. Bitcoin proves nothing. Boundless literally has to prove the thing. So why does XRPL specifically need this? XRPL launched in 2012. Deterministic consensus, sub-second finality, built as a settlement rail for financial institutions. But here's the trade-off. XRPL is completely transparent. Every payment, every balance, every counterparty. For retail, that is a feature. For a bank moving $100 million of client money, that is a deal breaker. David Schwartz, Ripple's CTO, has said publicly that even Ripple could not use the XRPL DEX for their own payment corridors because they could not stomach anonymous liquidity providers from a compliance standpoint. The company that built the ledger could not use its own liquidity layer. So for years, XRPL has been stuck. It cannot add a Turing-complete VM without breaking consensus. It cannot add privacy without custom cryptography. It cannot compete with Canton or Connexus for confidential bank flows. Boundless just solved all three at once. April 14th, at XRPL Zone Paris, Boundless and XRPL Commons announced the first native on-chain zk proof verifier on XRPL. Not a sidechain, not a rollup. Layer 1. Same layer that settles RLUSD and XRP every 3 seconds. And notice, XRPL Commons, not Ripple. Most headlines got this wrong. XRPL Commons is the Paris-based nonprofit that stewards the open source protocol. Odelia Torteman, the corporate adoption lead at XRPL Commons, put it this way, quote, "With Boundless, we are unlocking a category of enterprise use cases that weren't possible before." End quote. The architecture is clean. Provers grind the math off-chain on GPUs. They submit a compact proof to a verifier that lives natively on XRPL Layer 1. The ledger checks the math. That is it. Just a receipt. XRPL knows how to read. Okay, let's get concrete. What can you actually do with this? Use case 1. Confidential stablecoin transfers. XRPL has a token type called multi-purpose tokens, MPTs, enabled last October by amendment. MPTs are how tokenized funds, RLUSD, USDC, and real-world assets settle on XRPL. With Boundless, a bank can move $100 million of RLUSD between its subsidiaries, and nobody on the Explorer can see the amount, the counterparties, or the timing. But a regulator with the right key can audit the whole thing. That is selective disclosure. Auditors see everything. The public sees nothing. Use case 2. Sanctions screening and KYC attestation. A prover runs a sanctions check off-chain, produces a proof that says, this counterparty is clean as of this block, without leaking who they are. Proof posts to XRPL. Payment settles. Compliance done. Use case 3. Private DeFi. XRPL has a native AMM and native order books. Until now, every trade was fully visible. With Boundless, you run a private vault strategy on top of XRPL liquidity. Positions hidden, audit trail provable. Use case 4. Verifiable off-chain compute. XRPL never added smart contracts because they slow consensus. With Boundless, you run any computation off-chain in Rust on a GPU, as heavy as you need, and settle the result on XRPL as a cheap proof. You bolt smart contract style logic onto XRPL without putting a VM inside it. Ledger stays lean. Logic lives outside. And there is already an XRPL specific Boundless starter kit. Developers can deploy to testnet today. Shipping code. So here is the bigger picture. For 3 years, every major bank has been trying to find a blockchain they can actually use. JP Morgan built Connexus, Digital Asset built Canton, HSBC built Orion, Goldman built GSDApp. Every single one is private and permissioned, because the trade-off has always been the same. You get settlement, but you give up public liquidity. Boundless on XRPL is the first serious attempt at breaking that trade-off. Public ledger, public liquidity, bank-grade privacy, cryptographic compliance. 4 things in one stack. That has never existed before. And the XRPL institutional list already reads like a Bloomberg screen. SBI Holdings, Zan Bank out of Dubai, Arcax, Guggenheim Treasury Services, MasterCard added Ripple to its crypto partner program last month. Deutsche Bank integrated Ripple payments in February. These are the exact institutions that were missing one thing to move real money on this chain. That thing just shipped. Real caveats though. Testnet only today. XRPL amendments need 80% validator support for 2 weeks to hit mainnet. Boundless governance fully decentralizes in September. But you know what? That is usually what the moment right before adoption looks like. Here's the thing I keep coming back to. XRPL was designed in 2012 as a minimal settlement ledger for institutions. For 13 years, transparency was the last missing piece. Boundless just shipped it. Not with a token launch, not with a pump, just a blog post, a testnet, and a developer starter kit. The public blockchain designed for banks just became the public blockchain banks can actually use. If this made ZK make sense to you, smash that subscribe button. Drop a comment. What would you build with private XRPL transactions? Check the Notion link in the description for every source in this video. See you in the next one.